Void Rivals number 8 finds Darak and Solila face to face with the unstoppable cyborg known as Proximus on a kill hunt to bring them down. We've got the review right here. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Void Rivals number 8 from Image Comics and Skybound. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated. And make sure you stay tuned through the end for the final score. Let's talk about the credits. This issue is written by Robert Kirkman with art by Lorenzo De Felici, colors by Patricio Del Pesce, letters by Russ Wooten, and the main cover A, is drawn by Lorenzo De Felici and Patricio Del Pesce. Before we get into this main issue, let's recap what happened in issue number 7. Darak and Solila launch themselves into the wastelands, figuring it's better to go forward than go back. But Darak has it in his mind after a past experience that there's some kind of oasis or way station in the middle of the wasteland that if they can get to it, they can hide out for a while, resupply, and rethink their position. Meanwhile, Zalalak, who is Solila's king or sovereign leader, reaches out to Proximus, who is an expert hunter. But he's not just a hunter, he is basically a killer inside a cyborg body. And so he makes a deal with him, says, you got to go bring them back either dead or alive, because we've got to stop them from relaying the truth, which is the Agorians and the Zertonians are almost the same people, that they look alike and they come from the same background and same history. So you've got to kill them or bring them back so we can silence them forever. And so the issue ends with Proximus heading out into the wasteland after them. Now we get into Void Rivals number 8. We start with a flashback to Solila when she was a young girl and she was with her brother, and the two of them were forced to train to become killers and warriors. Her brother's name is Palada, and during one particular fighting session, they were forced to kind of either kill or be killed, and part of that conversation was also their lament and remorse for the loss of their mother, who also went off to be a warrior because she was forced to, because that's the kind of nation that Zertonia is. They're a nation of warriors. After that moment, we cut forward to the now, and Darak is asking Solila, "Are you okay? What are you thinking about? Is everything all right?" And Solila's wondering that maybe Zalalak, who is their nation's leader, might send somebody after them. And then we see that, yes, Proximus is definitely pursuing them on basically a motorcycle that's okay to travel on desert sands and in the wastelands. But after days of walking, the two nearly approach or almost get to where they think they're headed for, which is that midpoint between the two nations in the middle of the wasteland, when they are attacked by Proximus. A big fight ensues. The cyborg body that Proximus has is mostly impenetrable to Darak's attacks and Solila's attacks as well, but through the use of some planning and some spears and some explosive devices that Darak's handroid has handy, they managed to blow Proximus away, or at least blow him far enough away that he's not pursuing them, and they manage to escape. But in the melee, it looks like Solila is gravely injured. And there's also the hint or the suggestion, although not confirmed in this issue, that Proximus, at least the mind inside the cyborg body, really belongs to her younger brother, Palada. Maybe, maybe not, but that seems to be the suggestion here. As an interesting fact, you might be wondering where this series fits in with the Energon universe, particularly its relationship to G.I. Joe and the Transformers. It is part of the Energon universe. There have been cameos in the past of Transformers and alien creatures that are sourced from the Transformers mythology and lore. This particular issue has no cameos and nothing that necessarily would make you think that it's tied to the Transformers. That's not to say there isn't something coming up or that there might be another connection that makes itself known later on down the line. But right now, at least for this part of the arc, the Sci-Fi Adventure series is Transformers free. What do we like about Void Rivals number 8? Solila's relationship with her brother is heartbreaking because they're just two kids trying to be kids, but unfortunately the nature of their people in the Zertonians is not going to let that happen. You recognize that Solila was brought up in a pretty rough environment and pretty much trained to be a killer even when she didn't want to. So there's a lot of emotional depth and complexity in this issue. When Proximus shows up to try and take down Darak and Solila, the fight is really well done. It's a lot of action, a lot of energy, a lot of twists and turns. So you definitely get the impression that they are in the fight of their lives, and there's a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end that gives you the impression that some serious harm has come to at least one of them. What didn't we like about Void Rivals number 8? There's a few spots in the fight choreography between Proximus and Darak and Solila where you sort of lose sight of what's happening. You see people flying in different directions. You see spears being thrown or blasters being shot, but there are one or two parts where a body will go flying and you don't quite know what happened. I suspect it's not necessarily an artifact of the writing, but more the art, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, you lose track a little bit of what's happening during the fight. There's a lot of energy and a lot of big pop and wow factor to the fight, but the choreography sort of loses itself a little bit. Speaking of art, overall it's not bad. Lorenzo De Felici's line style is very precise and lots of thin, clean pencils and inks. Generally okay. The coloring is very, I would say, purplish. A lot of purple. There's a lot of purple in this issue, so almost too much because it starts to get almost a black. You almost get like a saturated patina of just purples upon purples upon purples. There's a lot of purple in this issue. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you sort of lose any pop or differentiation in some of the scenes, especially on the backgrounds. So it's okay art, not the best art. I think it's a little bit better than where the series started, but generally speaking, it's just okay. Final thoughts. Void Rivals number 8 gives you plenty of action. There's a strong emotional beat with respect to Solila and her past with her brother, which may be catching up to her now in the present. And the outcome ends on a strong cliffhanger. On the downside, the art is okay, not the best we've ever seen from Image. And during the big fight against Proximus, the choreography gets a little lost in one or two spots. But generally speaking, it's a solid issue. Therefore, we're going to give Void Rivals number 8 from Image Comics and Skybound a solid 7.8 out of 10. It would have been a little bit higher if the art and choreography had worked out a little bit better, but otherwise it's a strong issue and a good, really good, solid sci-fi series. But what do you think about Void Rivals? Are you following it, or do you want more connection to the Energon universe? You want to see more of the interconnectivity with the Transformers, or are you okay with it being a sort of standing on its own and being its own thing separate, even though they're part of the same universe? Let us know in the comments section. Otherwise, if you would like more reviews just like this one, please stay tuned through the outro.